Hello, my friends, and thank you for being with me today again. Today, I just want to provide some examples from history of how governments infringed, actually took away their citizens' rights based on a fabricated or a real danger, internal or external. I come from a country where freedom of speech was not guaranteed. Certain rights were again not guaranteed. Personal property ownership was not guaranteed. And I know how it is to feel that everything you own could be taken away by the government at any second without even needing to provide you with any justification or reason. Well, that system was a communist system, a socialist system, but it was overseen, pushed by, managed by a communist party. There was limited personal ownership, property. You could own property, uh, but it never meant that that was yours. It could have been taken away at any time. Mm, And that when I come, obviously, from Romania, from Transylvania. So when the Soviet troops uh, how should I put it, pushed the front, invaded, conquered, were allowed to enter Romania in at the end of the Second World War, allowed by obviously the Allies, which were the British, French, and Americans, who already decided with Stalin and Soviet Union what would be the spheres of influence and what countries would fall under whom's sphere of influence. Romania was left for Soviet Union by the so-called free countries, free-loving countries, and I'm not talking about the people of those countries. I'm talking about the government, which it's also formed by people. So when the Soviets came, when the Soviet system, the communist system came over and established after the Second World War in Romania, um, the communists instituted certain, their ideology, and people used to own property at that time, land, buildings, houses, you know, cattle, all kind of things, cars, and the communists uh, they nationalized the, the economy, and they took all the property. They seized the property. They sent people, armed people with guns, and they took the people's property and they nationalized it. That means they put it in the common for the common good. So you have lazy people with hardworking people. They would own the same, I don't want to say same amount, but on the paper they were the owners of the whole wealth of the country, because the outcome had to be the same regardless of the, you know, how much work you do and how smart you are. Yet the differences had to be very minimal. It's the quality of outcome, equity, equitable, not equal, equitable. So that was an example. where you had forceful, you know, seizure of property from citizens. That was just made by a decree, by a stroke of a pen. And they sent the thugs to accomplish that, and and people opposed. Some of them got, taken to jail, forced labor. Some of them killed, and the communists succeeded in doing that in Romania and other countries that were under their system. Well, another example where you have an overnight uh, robbery was the Reichstag fire in Germany in February 27th, 1933, when allegedly a group of communists set fire to the Reichstag building. And the Nazi Party then established their dictatorship. They banned other parties. They decided to infringe of kind of laws and rights. And it was an event that it was a crisis event that needed to be solved, and they did what they had to do. And they instituted the Nazi dictatorship after that. That brings me to I'm pretty sure this was not the first one who said this, but that's where I read it. And I read it, if you can believe, in Robert Kennedy's, one of the Robert Kennedy's, I think in Robert Kennedy's book, Crimes Against Nature, where he quotes Goering, the Nazi Luftwaffe and chief and so on. I don't want to mention his, military rank and so on, because it changed all the time. So Goering, he said that all you need to do if you have problems in the country, you have unrest, you just have to point to an external enemy, and everybody will just round around you and will unite against the common enemy. You just have to have enough. The propaganda machine has to be so strong and be able to paint an external threat when there are problems in the country. So I know that in United States and in Western countries, including Canada, it's a freedom of speech, and you can criticize the government, you can criticize leaders of the government, and the point is not that you have free speech just to talk, because you could talk in communist countries too, but there were repercussions, negative repercussions, if you would talk things that you were not supposed to. So if you would criticize the party, the ideology, the dictator, the guys in charge, politicians, you would get in trouble. So that's not free speech. That means you're gonna know what to censor. You're gonna censor yourself. You can say, well, that's limited. Well, it is or it's not. If there are repercussions and they're hurtful, then you can't have a free speech. You're gonna censor yourself because you don't want to get hurt. So the last example, after I mentioned the two, plus Goering, is Canada. There were some people over there who criticized the government. They protested, and the government decided that it's an emergency situation, and they took the rights away, the liberties. They infringed liberties. All citizens, not only those that were protesting, free speech. And if you disperse the group, the protesters, they're violent, if they, do all kind of stuff, all right. But then you don't take their property. You don't strangle them. You don't financially. You don't destroy them. You don't block their means of financial means of subsistence. And it's exactly what happened in Canada. They froze these protesters' banking accounts. Just think about that. Just because it's an emergency declared by a party and a guy in charge of that party. Now, if this could happen to you, if you say the wrong thing, maybe you get fired from your job if you say the wrong thing. How much freedom is that? It is not only that you get fired. Let's say they freeze your account. Let's say they ban you from not being able to use a bank to make your payments. What if under this so-called emergency situation, they seize property? They say, from now on, the government sees the property of each citizen. What are you going to do? Some people might applaud right now that those protesters had their bank accounts, frozen and tossed into jail and no bail. They say, oh, yeah, because you're of a certain ideology. But that could happen to you too. You're just hailing that you disagree with the protesters, that's fine. But then you're happy, or because they instituted this emergency whatever powers for these guys over there. You could be next, because if they were able to do this to this guy or these guys, this group, once the government doesn't like you, they can do the same thing to you. So if now you, being selfish and limited and ignorant, agree with what the government did here, when it's going to hurt you, what are you going to think about? Other people are going to say, yes, great, I'm glad these guys got it, they got shafted there. What are you going to do? You're going to cry and going to realize all of a sudden that the government abused you now that it's you. This is the mentality of a child. Okay. So and what did Canada do about it? About all these abuses of the government? What did the mass media do? Could be them next. It could be you next. It could be me next. So it's very dangerous, and it's so much hypocrisy. Not only hypocrisy, but we live in a fake world. When everything is okay and you keep your mouth shut and you go to work and pay taxes and shut the hell up, don't steer the pot or rock the boat, you're okay. Once you start doing something, they come onto you and all your rights are nothing. And remember, those rights were not given to the government. They were given to the government to protect. That means to uphold, to defend for you. It's not that they can take your rights away. That's not their job. Because supposedly, right, our rights are given by our creator. And the government is just a steward over there who takes care of them so nobody else attacks them. But look, the guard became the criminal now or something. Just think about that when you clap and you are happy with what the governments are doing to a group or another group, because next time it could be you. So be strong, be smart, look for the truth, find the truth, and be just. See you next time.